Hello, everyone. Sam, are you there?
Hi.
Hi, Sam. Shall we go ahead and I'll kick it off and we'll try to get Gustavo up and running.
Sure. Yeah, I'm trying to find a way for Gustavo to enter, but in the meantime, you can start with the introductions.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Teresa Hartman, and I'm working as a continuous improvement consultant with the Excellence in Breeding organization. And the Excellence in Breeding organization is the, the group that is organizing these webinars as a way to share information about improvements that all of you are making around the world and all of your processes and in your crop breeding. I am stepping in for Gustavo, who is our real host for our meeting, and he will be just joining us as soon as he can. He's having a little technical difficulty this morning. So we have some outside presenters today, which I'm very excited about. We have a group that will be presenting on some lean work that they're doing with Nigerian farmers. So I'm hoping that some of the things that they're able to show us will inspire us even more at our research centers about some things that we might try. First on our agenda today is a little bit of review on some behaviors that you will find in a sustainable continuous improvement culture in an organization. So I'm going to share my screen here. And we'll get started. There we go. Key behaviors in a continuous improvement culture. So look for these in your organization. First of all, we want to commit to a never-ending journey. So quality and continuous improvement don't have a destination. There's always room for improvement. And actually, the business that you are in crop breeding is actually like a never-ending journey. Also, whether you're breeding for disease resistance, high yield, or climate adaptation, you're always looking for ways that you can improve that crop and provide a better solution for your customer. Engage everyone. Engage everyone from a top leadership to those on the front lines. And we teach in our courses and we talk about all the time that the best people to improve a process are the people who are working in the process. They know what's happening. They can identify areas where there are bottlenecks. So we want to engage everyone in the organization. We want to constantly strive for perfection. And that is the fifth principle, actually, in the lean improvement methodology. We want to find improvement opportunities and processes and work to implement those changes. So always striving for perfection. You'll find in a continuous improvement culture that people development is a high priority, if not the first priority. As we develop our people and they gain more skills, they're able to offer more to customers, they're adaptable, and they can grow with the organization. We also want to build great problem solvers and have a systematic problem solving process. Build great teams. We all know that no one person is smarter than a team. So we want to work together to solve problems. And when we have cross-functional teams, it can help us solve problems not only in our own process, but things that might be happening in other areas of the process, either before our process begins or after ours is finished. And then measure what matters. Measure the right things. Measure what your customer is measuring you on. What are the things that they need? Metrics are like a scoreboard. And when we all go to an athletic event, we watch that scoreboard. How are they doing? We want to know how we're doing, and also having those metrics out there helps us set our next goal for improvement. So practicing these behaviors will help your organization develop and sustain a culture of continuous improvement. And so that's what I have for an overview for you this morning. And as we do in each one of our webinars, we like to have a little teaching presentation. So some information about one of our tools or our methods that we use to help us solve problems. And today we have Kehinde from IITA, and he was in the Lean Practitioner course last fall. And he has been learning more and more about lean and continuous improvement along the way. And today he is going to be presenting to us about process mapping. So I'll turn it over to you, Kehinde.
All right, thank you very much, Teresa. Hello, everyone. My name is Kehinde Olabode, and I'm with IITA Ibadan, Nigeria. And today I'll be presenting the process mapping. Samuel, can you help me share the slides?
I'll share your slides just now. Process mapping.
Yes, process mapping. All right, thank you. All right, once again, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining my presentation on process mapping. Process mapping is a very easy tool, and I believe it's going to be helpful for you. And I also believe that most of us have been using the tool even before now. All right, before we proceed, I would like to share the objectives of this presentation. Next slide. I want to believe by the end of this presentation, we'll be able to understand why process map is important. I'll be able to introduce to us the various types of process maps. Then we'll be able to understand the uses of process maps. And I really hope by the end of this presentation, we'll be able to gain confidence in making process map. Next slide, please. All right, everybody, let me introduce you to Benny. And this is Benny. Benny wants to know how to make a delicious pasta. All right, the best thing that Dad wants to do is tell Benny the steps of making a delicious pasta. These steps are called the processes. And it's okay for Dad to just tell Benny how to make a delicious pasta, but there's a chance that Benny forgets one of the steps or misses the order of the steps. Now, what would I prefer that do instead of just telling Benny how to make a pasta? Next slide, please. All right, this is a sketch showing the steps of how to make a pasta. And when if Benny can follow these steps, from filling up the pan with water and putting the pan on stove, then turning on the stove. Now, this is what this sketch helps you with. It helps you to make decision. Now, at this point, Benny will have to make a decision if the water is boiling. If the water is not boiling, she will have to wait and before adding the dry pasta to it. Now, this sketch shows a detailed step-to-step of how to make a delicious pasta. And I believe if Benny can follow this process, she's going to have a delicious pasta at the end of the day. Now, simply put, this is a process map of making a pasta. Next slide, please. So what is process mapping? Process mapping is the graphical representation with illustrative descriptions of how things get done. Now, it helps the participant to visualize and actually see the details of the processes closely and guides the decision making. Next slide. So how do we create process map? Now, the first is for you to identify the process, the process to map. Now, do you want to make a pasta just like Benny, or do you want to make a jollof rice? Which type of jollof rice would you like to make? Is it Nigerian jollof or Ghana jollof? Now, and after you've identified the process to map, you list the activities involved. This is where you brainstorm and have to work with your team. Now, as Teresa said earlier, this is where you engage the team members. So that's the advantage of process mapping. It helps you to engage your team member. So you brainstorm the ideas of each activities that you run in your programs. Now, the next step is for you to write out the sequence of steps. Then you create a flow chart. Then you finalize and share with your team. Then you can see clearly for you to analyze where to improve. Next slide. Now, what are the benefits of process mapping? Process mapping helps you to identify waste. You can see the waste in your processes. Then it also helps you to streamline work processes because you can see them. You can actually streamline and build understanding with your team members. It also allows you to visually communicate the important details of a process instead of you writing them or writing an essay of how the process should be. And it also helps you to save time, and it simplifies projects since everybody understands it. You know what to do, and you know the next step to take. Now, process maps helps you to understand the important characteristics of a process. You understand in details what a process entails, and it allows you to produce helpful data on how to use and how to solve the problems that entails. Now, process mapping also allows you to strategically ask important questions that help you to improve in the process. So in the midst of engaging everyone in the process, it helps us to ask intelligent questions on why the process is and what is affecting the progress of the process. Next slide, please. Now, there are different types of process maps. We have the flow chart, we have the high-level map, we have the detailed process map, we have the swim lane map, we have the value stream map, and we have the SIPOC diagram. SIPOC, which stands for supplier, input, process, output, and customer. Next slide, please. Now, for this presentation, I would like to briefly touch value stream map. Now, what is value stream map? Next slide. Now, it shows the entire process for creating a product and services for the customer. It is used to understand cycle time, process time, and lead time, value-added time, and non-value-added time. As we go ahead in this presentation, we'll be understanding what all this means. And it is used to identify waste in the process and opportunities for improvements to reduce the lead time and make the customer's demand. Next slide, please. All right. This is an example of a value stream map. And this one is for a post-harvest seed handling organization that we did here in IIT with my teammates. And you can see all the processes all at once, all the processes or the activities involved all at once, and not just a single process level. You can also see the flow of all processes. Now, the flow, the information flow that moves from right to left. You can see the customer involved. You can see the production control. You can see the supplier. In this case, the customer are the breeder, then the production control, just like the order manager. Then we also have the supplier, in this case, the producers. And we also have the material inflow, the material flow that flows from left to right. That flows from left to right. Now, in this current state, for harvesting, you can clearly see all the things involved in these processes, the land area, the number of personnel, the time involved, the days and the cycle time. You can also see the everything that is involved in transportation. Then you can see how the flow goes from left to right, the everything that is involved. Now, the cycle time is the duration of time that it takes for you to produce a unit, for a unit of material. And in this case, the number of seconds, number of minutes that it takes for you to harvest a trial. And the lead time is the duration of time for you to complete the whole processes and before you deliver. Now, there's an expectation of time for you from the production control. Now, this is time for you to start your production, and this is the time for you to end your production. Now, you can see the area that is marked pink. Now, value stream map able to identify a lot. So you can see like two processes that have been matched together. It helps you to the family of processes, like the seed packaging, inventory, and storage, all combined together. So it helps you to see clearly where processes can be combined, and which can help you to move faster in production. You can also see the Earth declaration and the shipping. It's also combined, and it can also help you to move faster. You also have the lead time ladder that shows the progress of every things that you are doing, from the number of minutes, number of days spent on each production, on each processes, and how long it takes for you to move to the next processes, to the next process. Now, while we were developing this current state, that is the state at which we are now in our production, we're able to see some areas to which there are delays. Now, that's an advantage of value stream map. You were able to identify delays, and you were able to manage waste. Now, next slide, please. Now, that's the case of the current state. Then we looked inwardly and said, okay, if this is what we have, currently, what can we have in the future, which is the future state of the value stream map. Now, in our post-harvest and seed handling program, we're able to look at what can happen if we involve machines in some of our productions, like in the harvesting and threshing. With machine, we can be able to save time. Then we can actually, by that, move up to the next process. Now look at transportation. Transportation does not have to now come up like every like 7 days as we had in the current state. Transportation is just occurring just once. So it's happened in between the time of harvesting and the time of drying. Now, the advantage of this is that we can actually see all our processes and know the area to which we can make improvements. Then we can also see the flow, the way there is a delay in the flow. Why is it that this process is not moving on to the next process on time, and what is actually taking our time? What can we do to actually reduce the waiting time? Now in the ID state, these are the things that we already started dealing with, and we started working on. And in fact, in the current state, we started implementing them. Let me show you one. Now, the one that we started implementing is, if you look at the area of characterization, and which should move to seed packaging. Now, in the previous slide, the current state, we had to wait for some days before we move to the next process. Then we felt like, instead of waiting, why don't we just pass down the seed for testing, and at the same time we're already doing our seed packaging. Now that means some processes can be done simultaneously. And you can actually by that gain some days and deliver on time. Now, next slide, please. We did a comparison of the current state and the ID state. Now, if you look at our cycle time and our lead time in the current state, we are spending up to like 153 days in production. And in our ID states, we're able to be down close to 2 months in production. This is going to impress the customer, in this case, the breeder, because we are able to deliver on time. we are able to make the arrangement, and because of that, it can move on with the cycle. There's going to be an improvement in the cycle of production. So we are able to beat time, and because it can even expand, it can expand its production, which is good for us too, which means we can employ more, and with that, we can also speed up. And that's the reason why the ID state and the value stream map is a living document to which you have to adjust and make sure you are beating time over and over again. You are improving in your production. The value stream map is a very interesting one, and I really hope we can try this out. I believe that most of us have given direction to some people. We've written it down, we've sketched it out on how to make on how a friend or a colleague can come around and come to our house to visit. This is very simple. So you can actually say, okay, this is the tunnel for me not to pass today. I think this shortcut is better for me to get to work. And even the way we wake up every day, you wake up by 6 o'clock, or sometimes the alarm rings. You have to make a decision. Do I snooze? Or should I wake up and go to the bathroom? So every day we make decisions, and it's just for us to sketch it out so that we can visually explain how we actually run our program. Next slide, please. Now, in conclusion, I want you to see that the value stream map provides a clear view of the work process, where value adding and non-value adding stages form. You can actually know, okay, this one is actually adding value to this program, and this one is actually not adding value. Let us remove, or let us adjust. Let us implement this, and let us remove this. Now, that's the advantage of value stream map. A good practice is also to visualize how long it takes for work items to go through them. Now, you can actually see how long it actually takes. You can see the flow, you can see the distance between them, and everyone can see. There's going to be an agreement with your teammates. It's not only you. Then it's not going to be an idea that you have in your head. Everybody in the team sees what you are talking about, and they say, wow, this is an agreement. Let us remove this process. Let us add this process. Let us work. Let this process work simultaneously. The teams in this with value stream map can be more united. Now, the value stream map highlights the current workflow and brings the focus on future improvement. You can see what it is that you are actually doing. It can even help you to improve your standard of operations and so on like that. So the next thing you are working on is how to improve the future. And by this value stream map, we improve our day-to-day life and activities. You can actually wake up easy with comfort in the morning and go to work and already know what you're going to do and the next person that you're going to pass it down to. And again, I want to encourage us in every of our activities, even if it's for you to make pasta at home, try the process map. It's a very good one. There's a direction for you and you cannot miss out. All right, next slide. Yeah, thank you very much. And I really hope you're able to pick something from this presentation. All right, bye.
Thank you very much, Kehinde. Very, very good, very enlightening. Sometimes that value stream map looks like it can be a little intimidating, but you made it look simple and, and demonstrated how you're using it and how it's helping you. Our next presentation is from outside organization that's using Lean to help improve Nigerian farms. The project that they worked on is sponsored by the USAID organization. They are funding this project and supporting it. And let me introduce our speakers. Jean-Pierre Rousseau is an associate director at Winrock International. Winrock is a global not-for-profit organization implementing the Feed the Future Nigeria Agricultural Extension and Advisory Services activity. And he will be joined with 2 other presenters, Ben Hartman and Chyka Okarter. Ben Hartman is the author of The Lean Farm. And he's a 2016 winner of the Shingo Institute's prestigious Research and Professional Publication Award. And that is an award actually that's given out by it's a Lean Award, if you will, at the highest level. He and his wife, Rachel, own Clay Bottom Farm in Goshen, Indiana, where they make their living on less than 1 acre, growing and selling specialty produce to restaurants and at a farmer's market. Ben specializes in applying the lean system on farms. Recent events have included presentations to organic growers of Ireland, Oxford Real Farming Conference, and GE Aviation, among many others. And so spreading the world through the farming organization through lean. And his co-presenter is Chyka Okarter. And Chyka is an agricultural technology expert with over 20 years experience in extension agronomy, crop physiology, research, and M&E, and has demonstrated extensive experience in private sector agribusiness development by introducing small and medium scale farms to viable innovative technologies and building strong networks between upstream and downstream value chain actors. Chyka has an impressive track record in project implementation and capacity development, increasing farmers' productivity, income, and household and food security. He is currently the value chain advisor in the USAID Nigeria Agricultural Extension and Advisory Services activity. So welcome to these three gentlemen. We really appreciate you coming to present. It's a special day for everyone who's able to take advantage of this on our webinar. And we look forward to hearing what you have to tell us about improving Nigerian farms. And I'll hand it over to Jean-Pierre.
Jean-Pierre, just quickly, we can't see your presentation in the presentation view, so could you help us out by clicking on display settings?
Okay,
in the top middle.
1 second. Let's see more.
The way your mouse is, which is over the end slideshow, if you move it one over to the left.
One over to the left. So remote.
To display settings.
Okay. Give me 1 second. I'm just trying to find the display settings. New share.
It's on the window where you just were. It's the one where you can see all of the controls. So if you move your mouse just back to that screen where you could see all of your presenters controls for pause, etc. Nearly there now. If you go up a little bit, then right a little bit, you'll be finding it.
Sure. Let's try. I don't.
If you have a copy, why don't you take over from there?
Yeah.
Would that be okay, Jean-Pierre? I have your
that
presentation
would be
here.
great. Yes, that would, and then we can tell you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and perfect. You can move to the next slide. So, well, thank you, Teresa, and sorry for that technical glitch. So, my colleagues Chyka, Ben, and I are going to discuss how we applied the principles of lean and continuous improvement to the Feed the Future agricultural extension and advisory services activity to improve the availability, accessibility, and relevance of agricultural advisory services that Nigerian farmers need to increase their productivity. So I'm going to provide you a quick overview of the extension activity and then hand the presentation off to Chyka and Ben to share how we applied a value stream mapping process to design and focus our interventions on the most impactful practices, services, and technologies that add the most value for farmers, ultimately allowing them to do more with less. So you can move to the next slide. So the extension activity was designed to demonstrate an alternative and more scalable approach to past development models that encouraged private ag extension through outgrower and contract production schemes. So the extension activity's premise is that since micro, small, and medium enterprises involved in agro-service provision have existing business relationships that add value to smallholder farmers, those enterprises are strategic intermediaries for the movement of inputs and commodities through the market systems and are catalysts for translating market signals into services that will increase smallholder participation in markets. Now, the second premise of the extension activity is that, contrary to common wisdom that farmers do not use technologies or services because the costs are too high, farmers are actually rational market actors who are going to pay for right-priced services that offer value for money. And as you know from the Nigeria context, most farmers are selling into dynamic markets characterized by high trade volumes and large numbers of transactions, and therefore are unlikely to adopt practices, services, or technologies that increase production costs but are not compensated by the market. So therefore, the extension activity carried out a lean production analysis to map value creation within the production and service systems for our 5 value chains, which you see listed here at the bottom of our slide, to identify demand among farmers for value-added services. And now this, as a result of this value stream mapping process, we identified the most impactful practices, which we are now promoting and disseminating through over 450 MSMEs today. So the application of lean principles and tools is really the cornerstone of the extension activity, which really helped us make the business case for MSMEs to be involved in and invest in private sector-led extension. So with this, I'm going to hand the presentation over to my colleague, Ben, who's going to talk you through the value stream mapping process. So we can move to the next slide. And Ben, over to you.
All right, thank you. And it is an honor to be asked to be here. Thank you to Teresa. Mr. Kehinde, thank you very much. That might be the very best presentation I've seen on value stream mapping. Very inspirational, and we'll try to live up to it here. Next slide, please. What I was asked to do, I'm a small farmer in Indiana and in the US, and also the author of The Lean Farm. And what I was asked to do for this Nigeria project was to essentially help create value stream maps for those 5 commodity crops that Jean-Pierre showed us. So what we wanted to begin with was to perform a lean assessment. Let's create some maps. Let's discover how are farmers creating products that they're taking to these dynamic markets. And then let's identify actions, what we're going to call MIPs, or most impactful practices. And then Chyka will talk about implementation and continuous improvement and scaling the work. Okay, next slide. So what we did was begin with a theory. And our theory was that on farms, there are 2 types of activities that are happening. There are activities that actually add value for customers, and activities that contribute to waste, or muda, as would be the lingo in lean speak. And so you can see that little pie on the top left. And what we want to do is cut out the waste, focus on cutting out waste as a way to increase value-adding activity, so that more of a farmer's time is spent on increasing productivity, quality, and profit. So if we can eliminate waste, then we increase capacity, which can be redirected towards value. Next slide, please. I want you to look at the top. I'm not going to read through this whole thing, but look at the top set of ideas here. We're going to compare and contrast conventional development approach to a lean approach. With conventional development, we often see that to increase productivity, a simple mindset is taken, which is that we simply need to increase the volume that farmers are producing. In other words, farmers just need to do more, need to grow more on more land with more output. What lean tries to do is say, well, let's try a gentler approach, a more nuanced approach, and say that to increase productivity, we have some other options here. We could look for waste, reduce that waste, and increase value-adding work. This might be another way, perhaps a lower cost, simpler way for a farmer to add value to his or her farm. Move down to to the agronomy first versus farmer first. With a conventional approach, we often see outside experts, research, and conventional wisdom are primary sources of improvement ideas. And what we wanted to do here was take what we call farmer first approach, which is to say that we think the farmer is best positioned to identify pain points for improvement ideas. And the farmer knows where waste enters the value stream. And so as Chyka will describe, a lot of this work involved talking to farmers and farm workers. And often this was youth, often these were women, the people who had the threshing equipment in their hands, the people performing the actual work, the gemba would be the term in lean speak, who's on the shop floor, putting nuts and bolts together. That's who we're going to look for. And that's who we're going to try to deeply listen to. Next slide. So I want you to look at the graph on the right here, because this basically was our 4-step process. First, we wanted to identify the customer. What we wanted was scaled impact. We have 2 million farmers here. We're trying to increase livelihoods on a large scale. And so what we want to do is identify where, what market segment is moving the largest volume of product for the largest number of producers. And so we're being specific in pinpointing the market segment that we're going to work with. Number 2, once we identified that market segment, we want to ask, who are the customers here? Let's precisely identify value, and let's get that information from the customers. Okay, so this is very important. What we did was we asked who is cutting the check to the farmer, who is reaching into their back pocket and handing cash over to the farmer, and that person is the customer. And that person is going to give us the best answers to the questions of what the customer wants. When do they want it? How much? And so the first thing we did was Chyka assembled the teams to go out and talk to people buying catfish in markets, for example, people buying rice at spot markets, people paying cash to farmers, and asking them 3 questions. What do you want? When do you want it? And how much? And we really put the fire to them and made them be specific. With catfish, for instance, how big do you like your catfish? What color of catfish? Do you like tough skins? What about the head size? Do you like large heads or small heads? We got very specific answers on what customers wanted. Third step at the bottom then is the fun part for me, which is doing this value stream mapping, which Mr. Kehinde very adeptly laid out the process here. So I'm not sure how much we can improve, but what we did was then went to farms and talked to farmers and asked them step by step, what steps are required for you to create value for your customer. And I'll show you specifically that in a second. And then we huddled as a team to identify action, which is to say what might be the most impactful practice based on the set of data that we've collected that we could scale up and have a large impact with Nigerian agriculture. Next slide, please. This is one example of a map that I helped the team create. This is a rice production consolidated value stream map. There were dozens of farmers involved in providing input and data for this. And it is what we call a concept to cash map. In other words, we began with planning and site acquisition. What steps are required for farmers to acquire their land? Moving on to land preparation and all the way to harvesting and selling the crop, and getting very detailed information on the time involved, the materials involved, the cost involved in each of the steps. Now, do you see the red stickers, the red stars? What Chyka did when he and the teams talked to farmers was they had sometimes poster boards or sticky notes. And after creating these maps, they asked the farmers, where do you see waste? And you see listed in the bottom left corner, we used 10 types of waste, and you're familiar with most of these. Waste like overproduction and defect, waste of motion, overprocessing, overburdening waste. And the farmers were very adept at telling us where waste entered into the value stream. And that's what those red stars indicate. Okay, next slide, please. This is a zoom in on this rice map, and Chyka is going to tell us what we did with this information, but I want you to look at the threshing and winnowing and bagging the rice step. The farmers told us it took 20 days of labor to perform this activity at a cost, as a significant cost of Naira 76,000. We tracked who was performing the work, materials required for the work, and then what waste might be associated with that work. Okay, next slide, please. So once you have value stream maps, you have a wonderful set of data that you can create beautiful pie charts with and analyze. In this case, the data we pulled out from that map was, what are the out-of-pocket costs for Nigerian rice production? Where are farmers spending the most money? And we see that it's threshing and in land preparation. And then we pulled some data too on the number of times improvement ideas were mentioned. So this is where there is enthusiasm from farmers for improving the process. And you see that threshing comes out on top. And so the project here chose an MIP, a most impactful practice related to threshing. Next slide, please. Okay, Chyka, I'll hand it over to you to explain what happened next.
Yeah, thank you, Ben Hartman. Like he explained, we went to the field to interact with these farmers after talking to the experts as well, including IATA, scientists, and the rest of them. Then we went to the field to talk to these farmers on this value streaming. And then the first thing we did was to make the farmers understand what constitutes waste in the lean analysis. And then we went through their production processes even from conception of the idea of going into that production. And then as we went along these processes, they were able to identify, oh no, we can do without this. We can minimize this, we can do this. That's how we came up with this. And then with the information we came back with, we did an economic analysis of that. And then basically we looked at what is the return on investment on these activities. And then from the 5 commodities that we're dealing with, that's what you look at here. On the left-hand side, you see the commodities with the most impactful practices, which we refer to as commonly called MYP. On the left-hand side, you have them for soybean, aquaculture, rice, maize, and cowpea. We have 9 of them for the first year we got into activities. And then on the right-hand side of it, you see the traditional method and the improved method, the return on investment of each of them. Manual land preparation, we have 22% return on investment as against 60 to 75% on land mechanized land preparation. The stored grain, 22%, and for the improved seeds, 115%. So it is down to the cowpea. We have 107% for stored grains, and pest resistant seeds, we have 305% return on investment. These are outside the other health benefits from this. Next slide. Right, for rice, what we're promoting is the threshing with mechanical equipment, mechanical rice threshing, as against manual threshing. If you look at the picture there, you will see women trying to deal with the rice tassels with clubs, and that takes a lot of labor. That in those areas, very scarce labor. The little you have, you mobilize quite a lot of them to do this, and there are a lot of disadvantages on this. While you're beating the rice, some of them are dispersing, and you lose a lot of them in that process. So if you look at that return on investment, you see that the return on investment using the mechanized thresher is a lot better than this. It saves you time and energy. Time the women would have used in doing other domestic affairs will be saved if you are using mechanized threshing. So we are promoting this as the most impactful practices in rice production. What this has done over the year, over the 1 year we've done, is that because initially, before we got into this, only about 13% of farmers use these mechanical threshers. Some of them who use it are mostly those who use it for their personal activities, for personal processing, threshing of paddy. But with this intervention, a good number of them, up to 34% of them, are now using it. In fact, a lot of them have saved money to buy mechanized threshers for their operations, to operate on clientele basis, as against the previous years when they just use it for their own processing. So what this has done now is that awareness now is there in the areas we work, especially Cross River and Delta State where we are working. A lot of people now prefer to use mechanized thresher, because if you are doing manual threshing, you thresh the way they are doing here, and then you also winnow. So these activities, this labor that would have gone into all these activities are saved if you are using mechanized thresher. So we are concentrating on this, promoting this technology. Next slide. So for aquaculture, what we're promoting, when we started, we looked at it, did the same thing, and we came up with it before we intervened. Farmers, a lot of farmers prefer to stock their ponds with fingerlings. These fingerlings are very fragile, and they were recording a lot of mortality, 30 to 35% mortality. And after doing the analysis, we discovered that instead of stocking with fingerlings, we said, no, stock with juveniles. Juveniles are hardier. They're about 5 to 6 weeks old. They're hardier to handle, especially for newcomers into aquaculture who don't have the real knowledge to handle the fragile fingerlings. Stock with juveniles. In that way, you are cutting down, you are recording less mortality, maximum 10% mortality if you are using juveniles, because they are already grown up. And the other advantage on using juveniles is that with juveniles, you can run 3 cycles in a year. And that's a lot of money. As against if you are using fingerlings, maximum you can run is 2 cycles in a year. So in addition to saving yourself the trouble of enlarged mortality, you are now running 3 cycles instead of 2 cycles. And the more cycles you run, the more income you are generating. So as at now, in Delta State, for instance, where we started, about 868 farmers that we talked to, we are using fingerlings to only using juveniles to produce their catfish to table size. But having worked for 1 year now, we've gone up to 1,240 something, 48 farmers are now using juveniles to stock their farms. What we have done is these MYPs we have now, these are commercial products, services, technologies, and practices. We're handing them over. We're not doing a direct implementation. What we're doing is to have cohorts. These cohorts are people of the same ideas. For instance, in aquaculture, we have cohorts of hatchery operators. These are people who produce these juveniles. So they are the people implementing what we do is to build their capacity to produce quality juveniles, and then embed services, advices to inside distributing or selling their products. Any farmer that buys from them gets advisory content from whatever is buying from them. So we are implementing this using cohorts, what we call cohorts. As of now, we have about 450 cohorts across all the value chains, implementing these activities in the states where we work. Next slide. Now, we have an exit strategy and a plan for scale. And that's what we're going to look at here. What we have done is, when we started this DSM, we had these farmers participate in the value stream mapping. At least they now know what goes to west on their own. And it will amaze you that some of them are even putting it into practice, especially in aquaculture. A good number of them are now putting up one thing that once they start, they look at, can I do without this? Is this useful to me? Can I do away with this? And that's what they are doing. And to boost that, what the activity is planning is to conduct training in the next couple of months for all our MSMEs on the lean analysis, on the lean principles, so that they will bed it at exit, they will take it up. And the most striking thing is that the federal government of Nigeria is now interested, through the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, interested in this lean methodology. And they've asked us to assist them to infuse this into their training model for extension agents. That is ongoing. And in the next couple of months, that will be accomplished. Next slide. I think that's the last slide. Thank you for listening.
Excellent. Thank you for presenting. Very interesting information and a lot of energy going into process improvement there in Nigeria. Good job. Well, we have a few minutes left of our session this morning. We can take some questions. Does anyone have any questions for any of our presenters? Babakar, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, thank you very much. I really want to thank the presenters for the excellent presentation. With regard to the last presentation about the lean approach in Nigeria, particularly for the rice threshing, how to be able to improve it really to become more efficient. You mentioned about the increase in use of the thresher from 13 to 34. Was that mainly due only to awareness creation, or also maybe was there also some financial incentive to support the adoption of these threshers? We are able to differentiate the reason why farmers went in more for the threshers. Was it mainly because of they didn't know about them, or now they have the means to be able to acquire the threshers? Thank you.
Yeah, can I answer now?
Yes, go ahead, Chyka.
Yeah, it's as a result of the awareness creation and demand stimulation that we have been doing aggressively in those states where rice is grown. That's from awareness creation. Like I said earlier on, some of them have these threshers, but they just use it for their personal use. They never knew they could create income from these activities by operating on clientele basis, where people, they operate and then people pay them, they thresh for people and they are paid. So even in areas where we work, I'll tell you, in Cross River State, people hire these threshers. In fact, they pay I think 8,000 naira per day. They hire these threshers, go to the field, operate it, thresh for people, and then return to the owner of the thresher. In terms of finance, as we speak now, we have our people in the field trying to link them up. Well, the way the project is designed, we don't give. We can only link our farmers to source of finance. We don't give. We don't have facilities for that. So, but we are working with some commercial banks to get leverage on the activities to get these farmers access this finance. Currently, we have men in the field trying to sort that out. A good number of them are interested in this, but like you and I know, the financial muscle is not there, but we're trying to sort that out.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else have any questions about any of our presentations today? Rulex, do you have a question?
Yeah, not really a question, maybe some clarification. I'm a bit excited with this, with the use of threshers. So the farmers use threshers now when we go to research, treasure is very important, and the quality of the seeds that's being produced out of this treasure. I mean, we use treasures one plot after the other plot. So my question is, did you take into account, say, if and only if you have observed this, one variety to another variety, the percentage of mixing, or did you take into account on this? But I'm just curious about that, because my follow-up question would be, can you recommend a treasure that has a very good efficiency? I mean, purity level, almost zero mixture. That's because we are now in the dilemma of whether to acquire treasure to be used in the experimentation with almost zero possibility of mixing seeds. I mean, leftover seeds from one variety to another variety. Yeah, thank you, Teresa.
Thank you. Chyka, did you understand Rulex's question?
Yeah, I think I think I got him. What we have done? Yes, I heard him talk about varieties. Yeah, we agree with you, but during our analysis, during the value stream mapping, what we look at is the scale of the farmer's priority. Okay, we look at the scale of farmer's priority. Variety and threshing, which one is more important, more of your pain point now? And what we agreed on, what the farmers pointed out is, look, we spend a lot of energy in threshing. So do you have a technology that can help us do that? So that's why we pick that very point as the most impactful practice. That's the most pain point for the farmers. I can tell you, in this season now, we've looked at it, we've gone again to interact with farmers. They say, yes, this is working for us. Threshing is working for us. The next thing you're going to help us do now is variety. And I'll tell you, one of the things we're trying to address in this season for FY2 is variety. That will be taken care of. And then in terms of the threshing machine itself, I'll tell you one thing, because it's like we are sleeping in the field with these farmers. What we have come out to realize, what we heard from them is some of them break down. And we've tried to look into it. We'll find out why this breakdown. You find a machine that is designed for 3 tons per day. But the operator, because there are 50 tons available, he operates for 36 hours a day. So because of that awareness, a lot of people are now preferring to thresh using these machines. And there are only few of them available. So that's why, like I said earlier, we're trying to work on the access to finance to see that a good number of machines are available and can thresh, and they will have less downtime with the machines. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We actually have run out of time. It's exactly on the hour. And I want to thank our presenters again, all of the time that you took to prepare and to help everyone else learn. And thank you also to everyone who took the time to come to hear this webinar, and we will see you next month. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Thank you, Sam, for supporting us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben and Chyka and Jean-Pierre. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for this opportunity.